Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with a further update as to the roster situation going on right now, especially at the Florida region. Is OpTic have also confirmed that they do not have Prolute as part of their plans going into next season. Will this be a mistake down the line? Where can you potentially go after this season is done? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really ups to the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Firstly, gotta talk a little bit about Modern Warfare 2. Here's some further gameplay in the background. They released some kind of details of a campaign mission, rather standard stuff here, to be honest. Nothing crazy going on the screen. We did see a slide. We'll have a look at that in a second. We've got the classic burger gameplay right here that's going on for the campaign missions. But I mean, yeah, look, the game looks kind of polished, looks kind of nice. At the end of the day, they're going to show whatever bit looks the best of the game. But look, it's a Call of Duty game at the end of the day. It looks like Call of Duty. I suppose we can take that away from it at the very least. Now, it must also be said the game technically now apparently isn't even in the alpha yet. Apparently the campaign and the multiplayer are both in kind of pre-alpha builds, which apparently Vanguard was in the alpha by this point. Not really sure kind of the naming really matters here, right? Like, does it really matter if they're calling it the pre-alpha or the alpha or the pre-beta or whatever? Like, of course, look, we're X amount of months to launch, so that's kind of what their timeline is going to be. Apparently the developers aren't really concerned that the game isn't in the kind of alpha state or whatever that even really requires to be happening, right? So not really sure this is a massive concern. If you guys saw this one, thought I'd just mention that real quick. Now, this also has been talked about, kind of classic Call of Duty developer type stuff that they want to put in the game. Infinity Ward stated that moving crates you see, this is on kind of the wet work map that we looked at yesterday, that the crates are kind of sliding across the deck, right? Now, this is something that, of course, you might expect to be happening, let's say, in campaign, and I'm guessing, like, if they create the feature for it to be possible in campaign, they're thinking, okay, hang on a second, if wet work we bring it back as a multiplayer map, why don't we just, do the same thing over there? So apparently they want to do this in multiplayer, but the issue is, right, if you've got sliding crates around the map, can you guarantee that they will in exactly the same position for every player? Because, if maybe I have a slightly angled, I sit at a slightly different angle to you do, then, you're just getting absolutely gun sunshine. So that might be a bit of an issue here with the kind of server lag, delay, situations like that, maybe it's actually not particularly viable, right? So as Tom Edison says, maybe just leave the kind of sliding crate stuff and moving obstacles out of multiplayer. It only creates more issues than it, than I suppose benefits it creates as well. And I think for competitive, probably not something we want to see. It just creates chaos. But COD developers will be COD developers at the end of the day. This was another thing that was confirmed. There's going to be no destruction in multiplayer, which was talked about by Infinity Ward yesterday. This, I think, is, well, it's difficult to say, is this a good or a bad thing? Because the destruction we saw in Vanguard, for example, you have the kind of wooden barricades up right in certain, well, pretty much every single map has them at some point or another. You can hit them out, or you can, like, the windows and stuff, it's all kind of stupid stuff that you can destroy. Now, I mean, look, if you can't destroy them, then those windows and stuff probably can't be there anymore, right? Those kind of wooden panel things that you can batter out with your gun and shoot through, like, they can't really be there anymore. What it does mean, though, is that the doors, which you can destroy in this game, which, in certain situations actually works to the benefit, I think, of the gameplay experience, won't be able to be destroyed, such as in Modern Warfare, right? The doors in Modern Warfare were indestructible, right? You couldn't get through them, like, if you, naded them or whatever, they just opened and closed and all that type of stuff. So maybe that's good in that sense, at least in terms of getting rid of some of the destructibles that I don't really think fit great for competitive. But, the doors won't be destructible either. So it's kind of a give or take situation. I'm not sure really what you guys think about this, but I think I'll probably take this all things considered, because we believe we might be able to remove the doors because of the kind of map editor now, right? So theoretically, this should be a good thing for competitive. Like, it's always difficult to read into. Now, I wanted to mention real quick about the slide cancel. We have seen, lots of talk from players, of course, about these mechanics in the game right now. The fact that Scump doesn't really want to have another year of the slide cancel meta. It's very harsh on your thumbs and your mechanics, right? We've seen a lot of players, namely, of course, Ilium, we'll talk about him in a few minutes time here, suffering with, thumb and hand injuries, and other players have had this as well over the last couple of seasons or so. And I feel like it hasn't been helped by the fact that, these players are constantly button mashing, effectively spamming the double tack sprint, slide cancel, all this type of stuff all the time. And I think a lot are hoping that this might well go away. This was a brief kind of clip here that Los Angeles Guerrillas point out of what the slide looks like. I must say it does seem somewhat slower and maybe more cumbersome than the kind of slide has in more recent games. Now, of course, like, this guy playing might not be your Simp or aBeZys of the world, but like, I mean, still, it doesn't really look like the way he pulls his gun up after he slides that it's really going to be too easy to kind of do the slide cancel in the same way. There probably is still a way to do it. You can probably cancel it in some way or another, but it doesn't look quite as harsh or as kind of powerful the slide as maybe it has done previously. So maybe the new movement is going to be slightly better than what we've seen before. I suppose we can only hope at the end of the day. Now, this also I thought was kind of funny here, actually, because, well, Kevy Skills definitely photoshopped this, because you can quite clearly see a shotgun kind of thing here in the background, but he puts in HBO over the top of it. Looks rather convincing. And, well, Nature apparently is, well, back in business as a result. If you guys know the whole Nature official HBR story. I'm sure I don't need to tell it again. Let's dive into this Rostermania stuff then. So some updates on the Florida Mutineers side. Rumor had it yesterday they're looking to get rid of Dave Paddy, bring in another player. Now, Yeez will likely get an opportunity. He, of course, is on their substitute bench. I thought he might get an opportunity, frankly, earlier in the season in favour of Dave Paddy, because, look, he's an actual SMG player, wants to kind of run that role. We know that, Vivid hasn't really had a duo in that sense so far this year. Awakening is pretty good with the SMG, no doubt, like an incredible slaying talent on his day, but the kind of pacing, it didn't really seem to work out there all that well so far this year. So an SMG player coming in for Dave Paddy seems to make the most sense to me to kind of ramp up the kind of pace of this roster as we get to the end of the season, because the talent is certainly there within this team, just hasn't really been working together on a consistent basis so far. So Yeez apparently was getting an opportunity. Awakening says this, it's probably a song lyric or something, or maybe just putting it out there. Not everyone will understand your vision, you just need to believe in yourself, but we imagine Awakening certainly going to be part of this team going forwards, and if he does get good pieces around him, like we know how a scary Awakening can be on his day, let's just say. Now the rumor had it from the rotation that Yeez will miss this weekend's Challenger League qualifier in favour of taking part in the Florida Mutineers trials this weekend instead. It then goes on to say it's a great feeling. So this seems to be the case. Yeez will get his trial with the Mutineers. Makes, of course, perfect sense. Will they, of course, trial other players? They have a week or so, pretty much. We don't know if there is a roster lock or whether that's even going to come into fruition. But, we know, I think it's the 24th of June when the matches start up again. So they have a couple of weeks pretty much from today to figure out what they want to do with this roster. Maybe try Yeez this weekend. Maybe try, Prestinni or whoever over next week. Try a few things around. And then within a week or so from today, decide what your team is going to be. Get them to have a good week block of practice in before, before that, I suppose, the Major 4 qualifiers begin once again. Because otherwise, if the practice isn't there quite as much as it could have been, then, you might be struggling at the start of Major 4, which you certainly don't want to, because every single point matters at this point. But at the same time, you also want to make sure you're maximizing the potential of the honeymoon period, which, we do seem to see come into fruition in, the CDL rather often indeed. Let's dive into the OpTic kind of side of this then, right? Because this season they've, of course, been forced to make a change with the Illy coming out and, General initially coming into the team and then Prolute coming into the team since then. Honestly, Dashi, this clip is honestly just insane in Valorant here, with kind of the chamber deal thing, whatever exactly it's called, the headhunter or something, I think it is called. But, I don't know, people were saying, could Dashi actually go pro in Valorant if for whatever reason Call of Duty just disappears or something? I think he actually might have a chance. Watching him play against pros on a regular basis, this guy is honestly just disgusting at FPS games. These shots were honestly stunning. But with Prolute still in the team for now in place of Illy, it does seem like they want to keep Prolute, of course, for the near future, just in case they will encounter any difficulties with Illy for the rest of the season. But after the season is over, they will let Prolute walk to another team if he wants to. Is this going to be a bad move for OpTic? And as I said earlier, where could he potentially go?
Would it be smart for... sorry, I didn't see that question someone mentioned. Would it be smart for you guys to keep Prolute so the teams don't get better by picking him up? No, that's not the way we're going about it. Interesting thought, but no. We're worried about ourselves, not anybody else.
So he tweets this out a couple of days ago. He went on to say this isn't actually related to Call of Duty itself, but look, we expect Illy to come back relatively soon. We've heard the rumors, the updates from the OpTic camp that he's going to be back hopefully for the Major 4 qualifiers. If that's the case and all is well, Prolute will not be required for the rest of the year. Now, I'm pretty sure OpTic probably want to keep him on anyway, at least as a substitute to the rest of the season, just in case something goes wrong, if Illy's thing reoccurs or some issue is happening, then maybe Prolute can step back into the team, and I'm sure they don't want to sell him to a Florida or something, and then find out they need a substitute for the World Championship or something. That wouldn't be ideal. Want to bring a guy in if that situation was the case that you have some significant experience with, at least playing a fair few online matches with, of course, so far this season, and of course the land at Major 3. Didn't really work out too well for them, but of course the question is to me, what happens next season, right? Because if Prolute is, as he probably will be, a relatively hot prospect in the off-season, right? You can imagine the World Championship concludes, Prolute's there on the OpTic sub-bench, and then teams like Florida or other teams that are kind of looking for a serviceable player like Prolute, good in search and destroy, good comms, able to easily fit into an existing system, then Prolute could be a perfect guy for many teams in the league. And if he does decide to leave, or if another organization wants to bring him out, then we know Hex's kind of history in these situations. We of course the most famous example being Arcitys after Chicago Huntsman in Modern Warfare. He Arcitys said, okay, look, I want to play a main AR role on FaZe, and Hex was like, look, you've done good service for the Huntsman, I'll just let you walk effectively for free, and then went on to form, of course, what has been the dominant force of the last couple of seasons. So General is still at the substitute on the team along with Prolute right now. And I do wonder if Prolute does get picked up elsewhere, then does General just become the full-time sub on this team? Is of course kind of part of the organization, the family within this roster. And well, who knows if he even gets picked up elsewhere as well. You can't absolutely rule that out, but I do wonder if this is a great idea, just because, I mean, look, you want to keep Prolute on, of course, if you could, but like, you know, I know how Hex is going to operate and the organization is going to operate. If he gets a spot, like, they're going to let him go. But like, and it's an interesting question, right, as to whether they should keep him to make sure no one else can kind of benefit from Prolute services. But at the same time, there are other good substitute options out there. But you know, we talked about it earlier, right? General just doesn't seem to fit too well in terms of, unless it's Dashy that needs to get subbed out, that's really the only situation where this actually makes sense. Like, Predator's a versatile guy. He can play an SMG, he can play a flex. He's pretty much, well, it's seemingly a much better fit for the substitute role on this team. Of course, we have to have one substitute than General has been, or, well, he has been really the last couple of years, and this season when he's been called into question especially. So if Prolute is going to kind of walk on and move on to another organization, I do feel like OpTic have to seriously think about who their sub is going to be, because if a similar situation reoccurs next season, maybe Scump is, you know, maybe he's unwell, or maybe Shotzzy, like, gets injured somehow, I don't know, falling off a scooter or something, like kind of Scraps did back, or Cellium almost did back in the day, I don't know. If something like that happens, then you need a sub to step into your team. You're going to need someone who's kind of more versatile, I would argue, than General, and Prolute has been a perfect fit for that so far, but if he's not there next season, then you've got to think about replacement options. Just my perspective on the matter. You guys might certainly disagree in the comment section below. This also just to mention real quick the whole Clay situation, because he's maybe in a similar boat with the subliners, right, where the subliners don't really want to sell him on, or like don't even want to lend him or whatever to another organization, maybe because they feel like, okay, well, Clay, if he goes to another team, he might, well, take some points off us, right, and he might kind of get the better of us. I think some organizations do think in that way, that like, look, if we kind of sell this guy, sell him on, at least this season, then we're potentially, you know, letting another team improve, and I think OpTic generally don't tend to think in that manner, which, you know, is probably good from a kind of personal perspective, maybe not always from a business perspective, right? I think a lot of people would have said that after the Modern Warfare season going into Cold War. But a couple of things just to mention to finish out the video. I thought this was rather remarkable. Biggest KD improvements from Stage 2 to Stage 3. Drazah and Octane were getting bodied in Stage 2. I mean, look at this. A 0.8 for Drazah, 0.86 for of course, Octane, and then since then, a 1.01 and a 1.06. So since Kenny has gone to the SMG, like, I mean, this has turned around pretty massively, but Kenny's KD has probably got worse, right? So it's kind of difficult to say whether that's been good or bad for them. And also Cammy, right? I mean, Cammy, nothing's really changed on that roster, but like, as an individual, he's just become an absolute force. He had a 0.93 in the Major 2 qualifiers, and in Major 3 qualifiers, a 1.07, right? So this guy's certainly been turning things around towards the end of the season, as you could argue he did last year in Cold War. And just to mention this before we close out the video, Champs in London, any updates? The rumor has it, of course, the rumor had it a few weeks ago, the Champs was going to be in Las Vegas. Now Crone reckons it's going to be in LA. It's almost always in LA, to be honest, the World Championships, and he reckons it's going to be there once again. Hasn't been announced yet, only rumors, but yeah, Champs in LA apparently is going to be the thing this time around. We shall stay tuned for updates on that one. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.